Tree?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
301.
All right. Hello, everyone.
And
Okay. This is the June 6, 2017 City Council, City of Semmes work session meeting. Meeting is now called to order. The time is
301.
3:01. Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Baker,
Here.
Councilmember Watts, Councilmember Smith,
here.
Councilmember Webb,
Here.
Councilmember Platt.
Here.
Very good. First item is the approval of minutes from the previous work session council meeting. They're attached to your packet. Please take your time and read those. We're gonna have to wait for Mr. Watts to return anyway.
All right, thanks. I'll call
Rainy day.
Last couple.
Starting to think we live in Seattle and all this rain.
Actually, I think a survey showed that Mobile is the rainiest city in the
I
state.
believe it.
We hold it. We've been holding it for a little while.
Seattle just more, I think Seattle has more hours of rain than, we just
Yeah.
have more inches.
Rains from over here kind of more often.
Yeah.
It's heavier, more inches.
What the report said.
Yeah.
Hey, but those of us that have gardens, we're smiling.
It's like sprinkles in Seattle. Anyway, all day, really.
You need to look to see your numbers. You look at your.
I got this. It's good.
I must not have been mad at them.
It was a few years ago.
I didn't start writing call music until 2012. So
It was a while back, but it was,
I did that was quite the talk.
I think that's who it was, maybe it's somebody else, but it was one of the kids. Yeah.
Reviewing the minutes. It should be in your packet. We'll give Mr. Watts a minute to check the minutes. These are the minutes from the work session, the May 16th meeting. Good.
Mr. President, move we approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. The minutes from the previous work session of May 16, 2017 are approved. Presentations. First presentation is a discussion of the declaration of the city council vacancy. As you are all aware, we lost a very good friend, a loyal and dedicated man who worked tirelessly for the city of Semmes, and Mr. Jerry Shirey. We'll discuss that as we get further into the meeting. During the regular session, we will have to officially vote for the declaration of the vacancy, but I just wanted to take a minute and mention that. For those of you who attended the wake and the service on Saturday, it was extremely appropriate and very much sensitive to a man who gave so much his entire life to other people. And I personally enjoyed working with him, and I know the rest of the council did too. He will be missed. He will be missed greatly. Moving on to the next item, presentation PRF for National Night Out, Ms. Denise Daly.
I really hated to call it that, Mr. Mayor. I'm gonna ask y'all for more money for National Night Out. So in view of that, I'm gonna give you the budget thus far this year
Okay.
and show you that I have saved the city over $9,000
Amen.
in budgeted expenses.
Good.
So that has been our budget for events thus far this year. And as you can see, most events have come in well under budget. National Night Out is a huge deal. I have been working with the Sheriff's Office, Fire Rescue, and in conjunction EMS, and I believe Captain Mack is contacting Life Flight for me. And I've also worked with Public Works. We're gonna try and promote this so that we have lots of families involved. I really want the citizens of Semmes to feel more like we're a community and a family, and that Fire Rescue and our Sheriff's Office are people that we need to go to and contact in times of need. I think especially if we start with young children and build a personal relationship with members of the Sheriff's Office, and I have asked and been told that we'll have 3 to 4 sheriff's deputies, officers with us for this event. I feel like if we can build a sense of community with young children, then as they age, somewhere back in their little lizard brains, they will go, you know, I remember meeting deputy or sheriff's officer, whoever, and someone from Fire Rescue, and they said this, and just kind of, you know, build a better sense of acknowledging that these are people that help, and not have so much distrust, or, you know, as people age, sometimes they're not fond of law enforcement. Anyway, I think if we can get them young, I have, like I said, worked with all of them, and we're planning on feeding people and just having a fun night. It's going to be very interactive. It's not going to be, oh, let me sit behind this table and pass out a piece of paper. We're going to have some Nerf balls and play games, and have a couple of water slides, and just have an opportunity for citizens to meet with each other and to meet our safety officials.
Okay.
So for that reason, in order to pull all this fun stuff together and to advertise and really get it in people's hands, everybody is aware of National Night Out. It's held on the same night for the entire country, except Texas. But anyway, I have lots of ideas that
Okay.
I've discussed with, like I said, members of these other groups, and we want to have a big night and a night that hopefully we can build on to get out into the community a little bit more.
Right. Mr. Webb, do you have questions?
Looks good to me, and we thank you very much for your continued efforts, and I know your work is never finished, I hope.
It is not.
Yeah. Thank you very much for what you did.
Thank you.
Mr. Platt, do you have a question?
No questions.
Okay. Mr. Watt?
Ms. Bailey does an outstanding job and keeps me updated on things too, and she's just a tremendous support and help to the city of Sam. She's a real great
Okay.
strength.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Smith?
We appreciate your extra effort in making this a success, and the planning is where that really pays off, so we appreciate your work.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Appreciate your work on this. Next up is item C under presentations, the May fire report from Chief Brooks.
Good afternoon, Mayor.
Hello.
Council. For the month of May, our breakdown for our major incident types for that date range, we've got 71.48% rescue and medical calls, 0.37% were hazardous condition, no fire, 7.78% service calls, 11.48% good intent calls. We had 4.8% false alarms, 0.74% severe weather and natural disaster calls, 2.96% for fires, and 0.37% were overpressure, rupture, or explosions. So out of those major incident types, we had 8 fires, 1 overpressure, rupture, or explosion, 193 rescue and emergency medical service, 1 hazardous condition, no fire, 21 service calls, 31 good intent calls, 13 false alarm calls, and 2 severe weather and natural disaster calls for a total of 270. Broken down into incident types, we had 1 building fire, 1 cooking fire, 1 trash fire, 1 vehicle passenger fire, 1 forest or woods fire, 1 grass fire, 1 outside rubbish fire, 1 outside rubbish, trash, or waste fire. We had 1 explosion, 2 rescue EMS incidents, 121 medical assist, 8 emergency medical service other, 40 EMS calls excluding vehicle accident with injury, 7 motor vehicle accidents with injuries, 15 motor vehicle accident with no injuries, 1 arcing shorted electrical equipment, 2 water problems, 4 public service assists, 1 public service assist, 13 assist and invalid, 1 unauthorized burning, 1 good intent call, 28 dispatch canceled en route, 1 no incident found on arrival at dispatch, dispatch address, 1 smoke scare, 8 false alarms, 1 system malfunction, 2 unintentional transmission of alarm, 2 detector activation, no fire, and 2 windstorm, tornado/hurricane assessment. Our turnout time, we talked a lot about turnout time, and this is a big goal of mine to get this down. Last council meeting, I talked about that there was possibly a discrepancy between the times that we're getting from Mobile County EMS dispatch. We had a meeting with the communications supervisor, and we did find out that there's a lot of times that are being documented that, like we go on a domestic call or an overdose or, a stabbing or a shooting, and we go and stage somewhere until the scene is clear. Well, that time was documented. If we stayed staging for 10 minutes, that's part of our run time. So that was, making our numbers look a little bit, worse than what they really were. We also, put in some policies and procedures. So our turnout time has gotten a lot better, as you can see. For our 3 stations, on average, 57 seconds, and we're looking at a minute turnout time. So we're right on schedule with that. Also, our total response time On mutual aid, we had 1 or 2 mutual aid calls, 10 minutes and 58 seconds. Last month, it was 14 minutes, 67. District 2, 7.90. Last month, it was 8:30. District 3, 7.86. And last month, it was 8 minutes, 56. And District 1 dropped from 7:20 to 6.75. So as you can see, these times were a lot better, and that's what we're looking for. You know, with these things that we've put in place with the iPads, we've purchased iPads where we can document the times when we get in the trucks. We can hit a button and say, you know, en route, and that's going to give us our time. When we get on scene, it's going to say arriving on scene. So we've got something now to compare the times with Mobile County Dispatch, and then if there's a discrepancy, we'll call and say, hey, you know, it didn't take us that long to get there, and we'll document it in our narrative. So, you know, these numbers are a lot better. Training hours, we've got company drill training, we had 263 hours. Continuing education, we had 12 hours. Driver operator training, we had 42 hours. Fire and life safety education, we had 6 hours. 134 hours of firefighter health and wellness, 46 hours of officer continuing education, and 24 hours of our pre-incident walkthroughs on our occupancies, for a total of 527 hours for our 26 personnel. That's including part-timers also. Our fire inspector did 20 inspections on businesses for the month of May, and this is I won't go through the list. Y'all can see what he has done for the month of May. Next slide. So some of the things that happened in May, Kyle Biles, our ISO auditor, came in, and we had a meeting with him to discuss our ISO rating for the city. Not a whole lot changed. He required some information on some hydrants. We had to go out and flow some hydrants to get them readings, and a couple of the training hours that he requested. But his report should be in about 2 months, and right now the city is a 5. Hopefully we're going to get better, and he will have recommendations to, if we're close to going to a 4 or even a 3, he'll have recommendations to get to that point. New hires, we revamped our agility test, and that was completed last week. We've got interviews scheduled for Thursday. We have 12 candidates coming in to be interviewed, so that process should be completed here in about a week. And those job offers will be offered here shortly. Station 1 update, drainage work still continuing. I think they're going to pour this week, hopefully, if the rain lets off. And I have a request for some station lockers. The guys at Station 1 had no place to put their personal belongings, personal hygiene items, change of uniform, raincoats, that kind of thing. Before, they had a dresser drawer with 4 or 5 drawers between 6 people. We're going to have 9 people there total when we get up and running. So I do have a request for some lockers. I think that's a resolution that's coming up on the agenda, so we can talk about that. EMA update. We completed our organizational charts for each department, Public Works and Fire Department, and then we put together a EMA organizational chart and presented that to Councilman Platt today at the Public Safety Committee meeting. Working on policies and procedures for our operational time there at the EMA. Tabletop exercise is scheduled for this month. Letitia's working on that, with trying to get that set up with Mike Evans with Mobile County EMA to be the facilitator on that. Either the 12th and 14th, we're looking at, or the 19th to the 21st. Communication is always a big deal during a natural disaster or handheld, radios could go out with our repeaters. Cell phones, towers go down, Southern One towers go down. So we're looking at a different line of communication, Hurricane Electronics. I've been talking to a guy over there to come up with 2 plans for us, and he's going to present that to the Public Safety Committee meeting once he gets that finalized. Just some EOC needs. When we do activate the EOC, everybody's going to be there. We have no place to sleep, to rest. Blow-up mattresses would be a great thing to have. That way we can, store them. We've got to have, bottled water, MREs. Those are all some EOC needs that will be needed. And reprogramming of the mobile and handheld radios for the P25 system, that's all been completed. The personality features on them have been complete. Now we're going out and testing the areas that we had problems with before. Ponderosa is one up here on Cushman McLeod and Rosemary, so we'll be going out, switching over to the P25. We're still using the LDDAC system for right now once it goes online, and then we'll be testing that out. We've tested some areas, even in the drill tower where we were having problems with it, it's a lot better. So knock on wood, once that comes online, it should be a lot better for our communication. Any questions?
I have just a few. I know that the Public Works has been working quite hard on the drainage system in front of Station 1. Any idea when we might be finished with that?
We got to pour, we're going to try to pour one half of it Thursday, and then probably the other half Monday or Tuesday, depending on the weather.
Based on rain, you
We
just can't work in the rain, I understand. Would possibly the end of June be reasonable?
I think so. Because we'll
We'll shoot for that. I won't hold you to it, but
Yeah, that
we'll
should.
shoot for the end of June. Yeah.
We're looking at 2 weeks for the cure, and we
Sure.
can be able to roll some trucks over it.
Well, it has to be right. Yeah, that's fine. Also, you didn't mention it, but you don't have to, if you're prepared to talk about it. Our fire hydrants, what's the status? Are they all up and running? Everything good?
Yeah, we tested all of them. Every 5 years we have to do a flow test on them.
Okay.
Naturally, we could use more hydrants, especially in Station 2's area where they're few and far between.
Yeah.
We can look at that, especially with our ISO report coming in. He can give us some better information, but we can always use some more, especially in that area.
And you said earlier that as far as the ISO report goes, if there are a couple of areas that we can fix immediately that would improve our rating, we'll be given an opportunity to do that.
Right, we'll have like a
Yeah.
grace period
Yeah.
or a period of time that we, if you can meet these requirements, then you can go to the next classification.
Good. And you'll hear from that in a few weeks.
I would say in about a month, no less than 2 months, we should get that report back.
Okay. All right. And then lastly, overall maintenance status. Are we green?
We're good. We had some issues with some trucks, but we've gotten all those taken care of. Everything's up and running right now. Every time I say that, something goes wrong with one of them. So, but right now, everything is running good.
Everything's good. Okay. All right. Mr. Webb.
Thank you for your work. Thank you. Stay in touch.
Mr. Platt.
Chief, on this stuff that you need for the EOC, et cetera, he just came to my thoughts here that it might be somewhat unfair for us to ask you to take out of the fire budget for the EMA. How do you feel about that?
I agree.
I mean,
I think it probably should be something separate from my operating budget.
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree with that too. So maybe we should be getting together it's a big deal, and I think that we need to get as ready as we can, as quick as we can.
New budget's coming up here in a couple of months, so that's something that we can talk about and get ready for.
Yeah, we need to, another issue is personal safety for the fire department personnel. Are y'all getting law enforcement back up and assistance when you need it?
We are, you know, there's we can always need more deputies when we go to an accident scene to direct traffic and that kind of thing. I think they're stretched out, you know, to clear scenes because anytime we go to a call where it's unsafe, we have to stage and let SO clear the scene. So, you know, if it's a dire emergency, even if the scene's, if it's not safe, we can't go in.
But do you ever feel like you're being set up, or you just?
No, I think, you know, we've never run across that. It's just, you know, it's just the time that we have to stage on a lot of these calls for, waiting for that scene to get clear. And that's, you know, that's just something that we have to deal with, even law enforcement.
All right, I'd appreciate it if maybe you get with the other people involved in the emergency management and maybe work up a budget that you think is realistic, that you might be able to get the council to approve, just put their standing budget.
We'll do it.
Good. Anything else, Mr. Matt? Mr. Watt?
That's it.
Okay. Mr. Watt?
That's fine.
Mr. Smith?
Appreciate all your tremendous amount of work. I know what behind before all this report is distilled down from that work. We appreciate the intensity of your pressing on to make an excellent department. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you, Chief.
I do want to say one other thing. We had a call a couple of weeks ago on the second shift that was a hemorrhage call. It was upgraded to a cardiac arrest. My guys got there. They assisted Mobile County EMS, chest compressions. They applied direct pressure to our arterial bleed. They rode in with the ambulance and did a great job. Lieutenant Green, Lieutenant Rochelle, Driver Alexander, and Driver Jordan. So I just want to recognize those people for an outstanding job. All my guys do an outstanding job, especially those on that particular day at that scene.
That's great work. That's great work.
Very good.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate all you do. All right, next item would be our police report from Sergeant Semmes. I know you've been busy.
A little bit.
I feel like I've talked to the sheriff's department quite a bit lately. I might have them on speed dial, I feel like, but that's okay.
You got me on speed.
Yeah, we talk all the time. All right.
All right, so for the last 2 weeks of May, I want to point out we had 488 calls for service. If you look at your front page, that's what we really want to focus on. Burglaries, auto burglaries. We had 3 burglaries, and that could be commercial or residential. We had 1 residential burglary attempt and 9 auto burglaries.
Excuse me, 1 second. Does everyone have their copy? Mr. Wood, you have yours? Everybody have the paper copy of what he's talking about? Okay. I just wanted to check.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So we've worked hard to try and cut this number down. And I'll get into, we had a 2-week surge operation that I'll get into on the last page, some of the results from that. We were able to apprehend 2 16-year-olds that were breaking into cars around the Winchester subdivision the other night. We've had 1 bank robbery at the PNC. Unfortunately, we didn't get him. I think I was like 2.5 minutes response time, and I really thought that I was going to be able to catch him coming out, but he had just left. But he did give us some nice pictures to post on the page, on the Facebook page. We've had 4 stolen motor vehicles and 9 theft of properties. That also could be residential or commercial. With school getting out for the summer, it's normal to have an uptick in property crimes. Over the summer, the kids are bored. They decide to go out at night, break into cars. The disturbing thing is the auto burglaries. That the reports that I've read, the doors weren't locked. So it's just a target of opportunity. These kids are going along just checking doors. And unfortunately, what I've seen is at least half of these auto burglaries, a weapon was taken out of the car that was unlocked. Very irresponsible. Going on to the second page, while we're trying to stop the burglaries and the thefts and the robberies, you'll see where we spend most of our time on these calls. 911 hang-ups, burglar alarms, civil complaints. We do close patrol, both commercial and residential areas. We hope to deter some of it by doing that. We've had 18 disorderly conducts, 13 domestics, 40 investigations where a report was written and sent to a detective, and 47 suspicious complaints. So you see where we spend a lot of our time. Sometimes it's almost like you're chasing your tail out there. You want to get in there and ride the neighborhoods during the day and the businesses at night, but you still have these other calls coming out that you're having to cover, the domestics and things. So for the third page, now that's just our traffic operations. We get numerous reckless driving complaints during the course of a day. I encourage my guys to be proactive, stop cars, because in my opinion, you never know where a traffic stop may lead. You may get warrants, you may interrupt a burglar during the day, coming from a burglary or going to a burglary. You may have the tools of the trade with him. We responded to 16 traffic accidents, both with and without injuries, and 11 traffic hazards, and several, I think 6 motorist assist. For the 2-week surge operation we had our special operations and some directive units come up here and work during the day. And from that, I did see a statistically significant drop in the amount of reports that I saw from residential burglaries. I guess they were kind of keeping the burglars at bay during the day, and it did work on the auto burglaries to start with, but I guess whenever they noticed that extra manpower wasn't out there at night, you noticed another little uptick. But over the course of those 2 weeks, we did clear 24 warrants. We wrote 78 warning tickets and 93 real tickets. So we've been trying to slow them down on Moffett Road. I had the surge team work the Lot Road area heavily, the Summit Drive area heavily, and also the Snow Road neighborhoods to try and deter some of that daytime residential burglary.
The digital sign on Snow.
So,
All right, Mr. Webb, your question,
No, thank
sir? Mr. Platt?
Oh, Sergeant, it's gonna be hard for me to praise you guys at the same time that I get on to you a little bit. I know what's going on because I've been there. And one disappointment that I have is this special team that you came in. That shows me that the SO can do it if they want to. And I know it took a considerable amount of effort and resources. I think I saw, 5 deputies and a dog team over in the neighborhood, which I love that. I think the city of Semmes needs more of it. We need to know what it's gonna take. And also, like you said, it's when people call and complain that something was taken out of their unlocked car, I think that we ought to just say, well, shame on you, you know. I understand that too. But I think that you guys are doing a good job, really good job. But like I said, it's kind of a catch-22 situation. Y'all proved already that you can do a lot more.
That's true with the extra manpower.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, when they're up here working, we're taking them off their other jobs
Right.
somewhere else. I mean, somebody else is losing out on.
Yeah, from one cop to another, just pass on to the two deputies that are hiding in the cemetery. It ain't working no more. They not even be Semmes deputies, but they're not that well hidden.
I'll do that.
Okay. But I thank you, Barry. I've seen what you're doing, and I think some of the complaints that we got was most of these people lost their gun in an unlocked car. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Mr. Watts? Mr. Smith?
We recognize it's a never-ending task, and we encourage you to keep on keeping on, and whatever we can do to encourage you and help out, that's fine.
And in closing, we do recognize all the hard work you've been involved with and you're doing. We do recognize that in a 2-week period, 488 actions. That's a lot of action. And we understand also that as this is one of the fastest growing areas in the county, we cannot expect things to get slower if anything they're going to get busy. Exactly. We'll just have to adjust accordingly. But please tell all the deputies that we appreciate the hard work.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, financial report. Review of checks. This is simply discussion. Has everyone had a chance to review the check? Mr. Watts, Webb, Mr. Smith, very good. Any questions about checks, anyone? Okay, very good. There are no ordinances. Moving on to item 7, review and discussion of proposed resolutions. Resolution A is resolution to establish policy on accepting private roads within the city limits for maintenance. You have that attached in your packets. And since we have in the room the Director of Public Works to dazzle us with his expertise.
Thank you for that.
Okay.
Hello, Chief. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Okay.
So this resolution was put together due to the amount of calls that we get from citizens about that live on private roads that are in disrepair. A lot of the times it's not, they don't know any better when they move into these places and they're on a private road. They don't realize that it's not maintained by the county or the city. So to the response, to the request of the mayor and some other city council members, we put together a procedure that would allow the city to establish a set of standards that would, when those standards are met, the city could vote to accept the roads into our maintenance schedule. So it's quite a strenuous policy. It kind of mimics what the Mobile County does because pretty good procedure, and it makes it to where that the homeowners or the landowners, they have a responsibility to meet a certain set of standards before we take on all the monetary trouble to take care of this. But anyway, it's pretty detailed. You can read it. I can go over it and read it for you, but it's pretty detailed. A lot of it probably wouldn't make a lot of sense. But there's it starts with a petition. Once we get the petition signed, the landowners would have to do several things in order to get to the point to where it comes to the city council for them to vote. I encourage you to take some time to look at it. And I did run this through the city attorney, and I think what you said, everything seems fine on it, and Randy's also looked at it as well. So, we can, if we pass this, we need to be ready to take on some maintenance of some private roads, because there are a lot of private roads in our city limits.
And I think to add to that, we always want to try to help citizens who have needs involving their private road, but we have to make sure we do it the right way. Otherwise, there would be, if there were no constraints and there were no criteria, then it would just be chaos. So I appreciate your work on this. Would ask the council to read this and think about it. Ask Jason if you have any questions, and I appreciate your help. Okay. Question, Mr. Webb?
I think on this private road maintenance, that's pretty good, could be a pretty good liability, big responsibility,
Yes, sir. You're right.
getting a private road, private road.
Yes, sir. And you're right, and I think that's one of the reasons why we're going to proceed cautiously with these requirements. It's a very good point. It can be very costly. And of course, liability, once we accept the road, we own it all, forever and ever.
Right.
Okay. Mr. Platt?
Well, I have the same concern as Mr. Webb does. It's kind of scary. It looks like a lot of work and a lot of expense. Jason, are we really fully prepared to do this? I mean, you guys are busy.
As far as the work goes, a lot of this would have to be subbed out. It's not something, like, especially if we take it on for paving and things like that.
Yeah.
But once it's established, then it could be going to our regular maintenance schedule. It would be more just making sure the training was okay, making sure the right of ways was clean. But the initial cost would be pretty significant. You don't have to, let's say we went through the process and we took on a private road. You wouldn't have to pave it right away. You can just get it to where it's maintainable and then take it over. And there are some clauses written in the procedure that would make the city take some of the liability off the city for the first 5 years to all the kinks get worked out.
Well, if city council went through it, I'm sure, it's good, but are you really prepared for this? Are you comfortable with this?
Yeah, it could be done. It's like I said, most of it's going to be monetary. So it's really, are y'all prepared? I mean, I think the maintenance we could do, of course, we wouldn't do the paving ourselves, but as far as the maintenance, we could add it to our schedule. And, it's not like we take on, a lot of miles the first year. It may just be a half a mile here, a half a mile there. So I don't think that would add on too much, be too burdensome for the public works crews. It would just be the monetary value.
All right, thank you.
Like I said, most of the work would go through a consultant and a contractor.
All right. Mr. Watts?
Would there be any exceptions on the 60-foot? Like if you have like a roadway coming in and it's you have to go to the people that own the property there to get additional access. Like, is there any adjustment that you can come and approach the city, say, well, the property owner, seeks out to try to get the other 30-foot, like the 30-foot road, and the people that own that property, the adjoining property, say no? Is there any adjustment that the person that owns that property, could they come back to the city and ask, that the 60-foot, I mean, does it have to be the 60-foot?
Well, I think you got to establish some criteria, and 60 is pretty much minimum, and that's what the county uses. I've seen some 50s and some 60s, but nothing, I've never seen less than 50. Just because you've got a roadway, you got at least 10-foot lanes, that's 20 foot, then you've got drainage, utilities, so you need another, you don't want to box yourself in, but there may be scenarios that, that's possible. We haven't got there yet, so I think you got to establish a standard, try to stick to it, and then if it's reasonable. So I think all that's got to be worked out.
Due to the access of, like some live on roads that are like that have like widows such as that have to travel the road all the time. And I've discussed it with different people, that it's a rough situation. And I guess that would be considered too, who accesses this, just asking, you know, to approach, you know, with that 60-foot, you know.
I think the main thing is that you need to, as long as you have the road front, the road widths, in line with, you know, highway standards, you got your drainage areas, you gotta have room for that, and you have to have proper radiuses for public safety vehicles. So that's the main thing that we're concerned with, not necessarily each situation from every landowner. I mean, you've gotta set a standard, and then it's gonna be up to them to, the chairperson of the committee of over that private road to get that right away and to have an agreement, a petition signed from all the adjoining property owners or all the property owners on that private road. So that's something that we would give to the chairperson of that community to take care of, not the city to take care of.
All right. Mr. Smith?
It'd probably be helpful to note that we're not talking about paving anybody's driveway. If this is used by, we're not even thinking about that. This is where a private road over the years has become a public road de facto, And you have a number of citizens, you have traffic, you have delivery, you have a lot of things going on. And that's where a judgment call comes in, and that's where I believe that this is covered. I would like to ask council to entertain an amendment of one word on the back here. It's the last line, where it says, after all of the above is done, only then will the city council formally vote to permanently accept the road for maintenance. And I understand what it means and agree with it, but I would like the word will to be changed to may, if we could do that. This infers that to me, it infers that the council will have to approve it, so I think it needs to be that word.
Where is it,
the last word on it.
Under now therefore be resolved.
Well, this is on the actual procedure. Private road
Oh, the
procedure.
procedure.
Go back to page there.
You don't want to adjust the resolution, just the...
No, not the resolution.
Okay.
Just the procedure, just to point out, this is to point out that the city council has the last word and they can approve it, or they don't have to approve it. You know, I understand and agree with it, I just would like to have it spelled out that it's up to us at the last point.
Right. I believe the procedure gives the city council two different chances to vote on that.
Right.
Ways that the procedure set up, so it's good.
That was my language, but your idea is better.
That's what I'm gonna say, I agree with you, but let's let the council.
Well, we'd have to amend.
I'm sorry, legal counsel.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah, I've looked at it, and that's a good idea. And that, we can change that, no problem. I think this is, if y'all want to look it over, we're not doing anything today exactly, so if there's anything else, we can do that.
Well, if Mr. Franklin is happy, I'm happy, and if Mr. Smith has no more to say about it than that, then it's probably good too.
Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Make one more statement. Some of the big problems you will find probably if you have a 30-foot right of way. One guy said, yeah, just come on out 60 feet. The neighbor said, no, I'm not giving you
Exactly right.
another foot. That
Yeah,
happened
agreement.
pretty close to us over there.
We've actually got it, we've had a couple of people already come in and they're ready. They've got petitions, they've been working on it for years, so
Yes.
when we say yes, we better be ready.
Right.
There's a couple in the chute.
Good question. Good point, sir. Good point. Very good.
That's all.
Moving on, item B, resolution to award a bid from John G. Walton for resurfacing project 2017-001-RE. On 30 May, I received recommendation to award City of Semmes resurfacing project, and it said, Sawgrass Consulting has tabulated and certified the results of the bidder's proposal for the contract for the City of Semmes resurfacing project received May 25th. The proposal and qualifications of the lowest responsible bidder is highlighted. Therefore, we recommend that the City of Semmes award the construction contract to John G. Walton for the total bid amount of $267,935.68. So, that said, it's in your packet. Open for questions.
Can I say, Mr. Baker, that any project, any public works project over 50,000 has to go by the state bid laws.
Right.
And all bid laws were used for this project. We did the proper advertisement. I believe it's a 2-week session in a local newspaper. We had to have a public bid opening. We did all that. We had 5 contractors respond and 4 contractors bid on it. We had a public bid opening with the city clerk, and it was advertised, the dates, times.
Right.
Everything was done by the state bid law. I want to make sure everybody's aware of that.
Very good point. Very good
And then,
point.
and basically what you're getting here is we're paving, we're resurfacing and for paving up to 2.5 miles worth of city roads for, and that's what your price is, $267,935. I feel like that's a pretty good
Pretty good
price.
deal.
And the prices went, that was the lowest, and I think they went all the way up to $325.
Yeah. So that's very good. That's a very good price.
Also, there's a little bit of drainage work that's involved in some of this too, so you're not even looking at straight 2.5 miles of paving, there's drainage involved as well. I feel like it's a pretty good deal. The contractor, they're a well-known contractor, they've been around a long time, so they have all their licenses, they're out certified, they're state, they're federal certified, so I don't have any doubts about their certifications.
Good. Okay, Mr. Webb, questions, sir?
Already been over it.
Okay, Mr. Platt?
I'm good.
Good. Okay, Mr. Watt? Mr. Smith?
Mr. Franklin just answered a couple of questions I had, and I'm really happy to see us rolling out the asphalt there.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Next item, item C, this is amending resolution 2017-20, authorizing the mayor to sign checks for standard reoccurring expenditures. I believe this came up because there were a few more. Let's see. City Clerk, did you want to discuss those?
Sure.
Okay.
On the back of the resolution, we have Exhibit A, which is a list of our standard reoccurring accounts. A couple have multiple accounts, such as Alabama Power, and so on. We did have a couple of new accounts established for reopening the fire stations and so on. So we had to add MediaCom and a couple of others to the list. And also, this resolution, the way it is amended, would include online payments for some of these reoccurring expenditures we have. I've checked with the league and some other city clerks, and they use online payments legally for their reoccurring expenditures. So if this is something you guys would agree with, then it would only be these that are listed here with asterisks that we would pay online. And we would still follow the same procedure for review before the payments are made. The mayor's going to see them, I'll see them, and our senior accounting clerk, and those will come before city council for review as well. So it'll still be reviewed the same way. Nothing else changes, just the online payment instead of a check. So.
And council, you're comfortable with that procedure? Mr. Webb, do you have any questions, sir?
No.
Mr. Platt?
Thank you.
Mr. President, I know exactly why we initiated this to start with, this review.
Yeah.
And I'm beginning to wonder if it's absolutely necessary. It's a lot of work for everybody involved. And of course, as I do many other things, I've done this in Mr. Smith's lap because he's in charge of the Finance Committee. But I don't think that yourself or the city clerk needs to come to the city council for absolutely everything that goes on. I appreciate it, I really do, but the city clerk was appointed and you were elected, and personally, I wouldn't mind it just being done away with. That's just what I got to say with it.
I appreciate your
One question, aren't you bonded?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
If y'all do something ugly, you're gonna get hung anyway.
That's right. Get in trouble.
That's just how I feel about it.
All right, Mr. Watt. Mr. Smith.
This is actually to answer Mr. Pratt's, that these things would go straight through without having to. That's the whole point of this right here.
Well, yeah,
These-
but there's a basket full of stuff here that's just, it's just
Well,
I think,
many of these
yeah.
things would not be in the basket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've talked about this in the finance committee meeting, part about, especially about the online payments and under the security issue. This means there are that many fewer checks floating around there with the bank numbers on it.
Yeah.
And it's actually
And stamps.
more secure.
We save a stamp,
And
which adds up.
and
Yeah.
it's much more efficient and
Yeah.
it'll expedite things. So this is going to smooth things out and yes, you won't have to look at it.
Well, like I said, I don't mind, I'm just stating that,
This gives authority to do what you're saying.
yeah, if the finance committee's happy, I'm happy.
I appreciate that. All right, any other comments on C? Moving on, resolution to authorize the expenditure of funds for the city clerk and assistant to become members of the International Institute of Municipal Clerks. You'll see that in your packet. Essentially, the International Institute of Municipal Clerks is a professional organization which, after our clerk and assistant clerk attend classes and go through certifications, it makes them better prepared and more skilled in doing their job. I've talked to other mayors, and many of their city clerks are involved in this program, and I think it's a good one. But you see there on the page, you can read that, and of course, since city clerk, it affects you. If you have any comments, please feel free.
Well, the main purpose of joining the IIMC, other than the benefits it offers, is if I go to any training that's sponsored by them, after 2 years of being a member of the IIMC, then I'm eligible to attain the credentials. So it's good to start now, and I'll be able to start earning those credentials after 2 years, and hopefully I'll be awarded a CMC, which is the Certified Municipal Clerk, and that's a great asset for the city to have. And of course, with Shannon going to training with me as well, she'll be a great backup, and she'll be receiving the same training that I am. So I just think it's a good idea altogether. I'll have access to tons of information and training and resources, and it's just a really great opportunity.
Thank you. Mr. Webb, comment?
Just gonna go get real highly qualified now, so.
Well, I want to be a master city clerk one day.
No, we thank you very much. Your work is never finished, I know.
Mr. Platt, any comment?
I think anytime Brandy asks for something, we ought to seriously consider it. I mean, it's a done deal.
Mr. Watt?
Does a great job.
Amen.
Mr. Smith?
I'm excited that our folks want to be professional, and I'm fully supportive.
Very good. And of course, I support it. I think it's a wonderful initiative, and everyone wins. As the city clerk said, the training is for the city clerk and the assistant city clerk, and we need to have someone, or you're called away for something. So, training's always good. And training your backup is always important. Moving on. Authorizing the expenditure of funds to purchase items for the 2017 National Night Out event. We had talked about this earlier in the session. Are there any additional comments, Mr. Webb?
None.
Mr. Platt?
I'm good.
Mr. Watts? Mr. Smith? Okay. Moving on. Authorizing the expenditure of funds to purchase lockers for station number 1. Chief Brooks discussed this during the fire report. As he mentioned during his report, using drawers to pull out and put items of equipment in isn't the best way to do it. This would allow our firefighters to have a locker that they can call their own, stock it as they wish, and basically have it. And this would just be in Station 1?
Yes,
right?
we've got lockers for the other stations.
Okay.
For the
They're good, others are good.
This locker is going to be a wardrobe type locker where you can hang stuff on a bar.
Okay.
And with adjustable shelves also to put
Right.
items on.
Right. Okay, very good, very good. Mr. Webb, any questions about the lockers?
No, I just want to make sure you get
What you need?
what you talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Platt?
Yeah, my question is, Chief, are you sure that you can get what you need for that amount of money?
I've looked at some online and for about $200. You know, and I added a little bit of flexibility in there for shipping and handling.
This a cover? You mean 2,000?
2,000, I
Yeah.
meant 200 per.
200 per
locker.
person, okay,
Yes,
yeah.
for 9 of them.
Okay. Okay. All right, Mr. Watts? Mr. Smith?
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. Committee reports, financial report, financial committee report.
Mr. President, the numbers are coming in today. I've seen some of the numbers and looking good. They're about as expected. And we hope to have those all put together for the Finance Committee meeting next week. At that point, we expect to have enough data points to give us a projection for basing our next budget on, next year's budget. So we'll be beginning our serious budget considerations next week. So I think you'll notice elsewhere in the reports here today maybe that put $38,000 plus in the budget stabilization fund. So that's putting it in instead of taking it out. So
Very good.
things are very positive. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Any questions for the financial report? Mr. Webb?
None.
Mr. Platt?
No.
Very good. Moving on next to roadways and right-of-ways, Mr. Webb. Any
Well, I'll make
comments,
a
sir?
comment.
Hmm?
We've had a little bit of a problem with getting the grass cut on the right of ways in the community.
Right.
But what I got, I'm sure gave me the idea. The guy that lives next door to me is fenced off, and it's a little difficult for him to get over there. But when I think cut part of his right of way, and a couple of days ago he came and finished it. So if you have a neighbor that needs some help, give them a hand.
All right.
You can't go wrong by helping people. And two, there's other things that we're going to get taken care of, some paving done and that sort of thing. But we need to hear, if you have a request, call the city clerk. Or Jason Franklin, that he has a good set of ears, he's a good listener, and
That look was priceless, Brandon.
thank you. No, we wanna serve the people in Semmes with joy. It's a tremendously rewarding and very honorable to serve the people here. This is a very special place in this part of the world, any part of it, as far as that goes. But we're here to help people, not take advantage of you. We want to help you. And then we want to take care of the employees, take care of the residents. We're here to help.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Any comments on Mr. Webb's report? Mr. Platt?
No, I'm good.
Mr. Platt? Mr. Smith? Moving on to public safety, Mr. Platt.
I think the sergeant gave a very good report, so we know pretty much what's going on, and Chief Brooks brought us up to date. I guess if there is any news, it's that the Public Safety Committee will have a new time and date for meeting, and probably some new appointments. Some of the people have lost interest or for whatever reason, and so we'll be firming that up before the next city council meeting.
Very good. All right, any questions for public safety? And Mr. Platt, you're wearing two hats. You want to talk about Parks and Rec, or do you want to defer?
No, the last time that Mr. Shirey and I talked, the topic was the piece of property up on Schillinger's Road. And he had me contact the Boy Scouts and some local churches to see if we could find a use for that piece of property. And as of yet, no return calls. So I think for Jerry, we need to continue with that, get that done. And Linda Shirey has, in a roundabout way, give her interest in participating on that committee. So I think that we'll be inviting her.
Okay.
She would like to continue her husband's work, and she has a lot of interest too. And pretty much everything else is taken care of. Public Works solved most of our financial problem by finding another way to do things, so we're in good shape.
Very good. Thank you, sir. Good report. Okay. Any council, legal counsel, or staff comments? Yes.
I didn't get together a report. If I can get a few minutes.
Of course.
To catch you up on some of the stuff
Of
we're
course.
working
Go
on.
right ahead.
I forgot to get on the agenda.
That's all right.
Real quick, we are applying for a Gulf of Mexico Alliance Community Resilience Grant. It's a grant that came for our desk a couple weeks ago. It's a $45,000 grant that Letitia is working on for the public safety aspect of Semmes, and it's to purchase and install 2 emergency alert warning sirens throughout the city, one on this end and one on the other end, the west end, maybe one at Public Works and one over here in this area. What this will do is that in a time of emergency, it'll sound the alarm, and it's supposed to reach a 1.5 mile radius. So if there was some kind of weather alert we needed to put out, it's something that we could really use. We don't have anything at this time. We have one at the ballparks over there by Semmes Middle School, but that doesn't really reach a good distance. This is one of the things that came out of one of our tabletop exercises was communications and warnings. So we're working on a grant request to do this. We should be sending this out in the next couple of weeks, and we hope to get enough to pay for both systems.
Right.
Second thing, Station 1, Chief talked about it. We're going to try to pay pour concrete Thursday, and then Monday, let it cure for a couple of weeks, and they'll be able to move in. Just an update on the splash pad, it is open. So far, we've had a very successful season. We've had parties booked ever since we opened, and I think for the next 6 weekends, we have parties booked, so it's a hit already. We've had a great turnout. This golf course, Public Works crews had to add some footbridges, trim back some limbs and things like that. But it's getting a lot of use from Memorial Day to the end of June. There'll be 4 big tournaments. And when I say big tournaments, I'm talking 80 to 100 participants. So that is really getting used, and it's making the city look good. We've got a lot of people from out of town coming in and complimenting the course. It's a really high-level course, and something we should be proud of. I have 2 more things that I would like Rob to talk about one of them, and Tyler to talk about it just a couple minutes.
Sure.
And I want to thank Mr. Webb. He is on our Public Works Committee, and he always calls and asks for help and anything he can do, and I appreciate him checking on us, and he checks on the guys out there, and I appreciate all the help he's doing.
Thank you, Mr. Webb.
So if y'all could listen to Rob for just a minute. He's going to talk about Tisha's working on the inventory system.
Sure.
She couldn't come, so he's going to talk about it.
That'd be great.
Yes, sir.
You want to you take questions before you leave about what it is?
Oh, I'm sorry, yes. Council questions.
On the request for a grant, I believe that requires $22,500 from the city or equivalent in work supply.
Yeah, it's a 50-50 match.
So would you be able to come back to us with a request before the filing date on that?
Yes, sir. They're offering one grant to all the coastal areas. So if we get narrowed down, I'll come in and try to give an exact estimate of where our match will be. Like Mr. Smith said, you don't necessarily have to match the 22.5 or whatever it is to match the total amount. You can use some of your time that you spend on research, preparing the grant request and things like that. So there's some ways that we can help that out. But when it gets down a little closer to it, if we get narrowed down, I'll definitely bring that back. I just kind of want to let you know that we're working on that.
Oh, good report.
Is Letitia writing that grant?
She's working on it.
2 things I'd like to point out about this. This is not a minor issue. This is one of the areas that we found that we were very poor in during the last tabletop exercise is our communication with the public. And this is probably one of the most expedient ways and least expensive ways for us to proceed. And point 2 is I sure hope that you're doing as good for your people as they're doing for you. I mean, that girl just consistently
the
Fantastic.
she puts out, and that really, Rob and Tyler, I couldn't do it without these two guys. They work so hard and they make my life a lot better. And hopefully, they'll get recognized, and I really appreciate both of those guys. They do a wonderful job. He helps me with planning, and Rob is our public works guy, and they really.
Well, just to help you out a little bit, I heard the mayor one time say that he had to listen to the subordinates and to support them, so rough him up a little bit. You know.
Sorry.
I'd just like to insert in there that Patricia's polled many of the people around, powers that be around the county in support of that. So she's
she
got a
really,
tremendous amount of support, so if that doesn't pass, I don't know what.
she's a
would.
very talented girl.
Should be
very
working on
talented.
it. Should be a good draft request.
Yeah.
Okay, you want Tyler to talk?
Just a couple minutes. Come on.
Oh, sure, Tyler.
I'm gonna get Rob first. He's gonna talk about the inventory.
Oh, certainly.
Tyler can
Sure.
lights.
Hello. I'm gonna pass this out real quick to you
Okay.
guys. Yeah. So, in early February to mid-February, we decided to do asset management. We assigned Letitia to be the property clerk, and we found a program that was, number one, free to use, and two, had a comprehensive tools to check our assets. So we went through there, and we went with Asset Tiger. I'm about to give you all this booklet. This is showing what the assets that we have inventoried so far. Currently, we're at 384 assets. When I say 384 assets, not only have they been tagged, but they've been also inventoried in the system. They've been back-checked. All the receipts and such have been brought into the system as well. As you read there, currently about 29% of our inventoried assets do not have any financial information attached to them. Simply put, we're still looking for receipts for previous purchases throughout the years. We're waiting direction back from Mr. Crane about method of depreciation. None of our assets currently have a depreciation line on them. We do have aging assets, and we do have a couple of assets that will be, in coming weeks, surplused out, with your approval, of course. In regards to the parks, we've put in those assets already, land assets. However, we don't have the construction assets in there. So, for instance, our land, the public works land is included in there. However, we don't have the amount of how much the construction of the training facility and all that is in there. In coming weeks, Jason and DJ are gonna get together and come up with the pure cost of those, so we can add that to the asset system. We have recently started on the fire department. There's a lot of things going on in the fire department, as you all know. We're transitioning to a municipal fire department, and we are trying to find receipts for all the assets that are in the fire department. So at this point in time, we currently only have about 52 items of the fire department put in there. They are big ticket items, so we are looking at going through there probably in the coming weeks after the full transition has been done, and getting those things put into place. As you can see on the list, we have about 384 assets that have already been taken care of. The value of that is $2,935,000. In the current year, we've purchased about $590,000 worth of assets. Of course, the majority of that is the pumper truck from the fire department and the backhoe that we have. At this point, we're ongoing. Only had 3 months in, and as you can see, we're full steam ahead with that. Letitia's manning that project for the most part, and she's doing that along with emergency management stuff and grant writing and all that stuff. So she's been pretty busy with this idea, and she's been doing a very, very good job, and I want to, once again, reiterate, she's doing a great job for us over there. Any questions?
Are you capturing warranty?
Yes. Anytime we have any new items come in, we are capturing the warranty information, and not only that, we are making sure everything is registered as it's turned in. Furthermore, whenever we have an asset in place that's already been bought, we have been seeking the warranty information and contacting the folks for that stuff.
Good, good. Very good. Most impressive. Most impressive.
Raul, I'll have to apologize. I forgot to pass along that I got a text from Mr. Crane this morning. He was on his way down to meet with you guys, and he got recalled at home for a medical emergency. A family member, and I haven't heard anything since.
Well, we at this point in time, we're going to continue tagging all of our assets. The one thing that we look forward to talking with Mr. Crane about is the depreciation values and such. And he said he would get with previous auditors and IRS information to get that information for us.
All right.
Mr. Webb, questions? Any more questions?
No.
Mr. Blatt, any
Thank
additional
you.
questions?
No, sir.
Mr. Watts? Mr. Smith?
Mr. President, immediately after you took office, you identified this as something that needed to be done most urgently, and I hope you're gratified that it's seriously underway. It's starting to yield benefits.
It certainly is. Thank you very much. And this is, we're moving in the right direction.
Yes, sir.
We're capturing what we own, and that's critical. You know?
Yes, sir.
All right. And Tyler, you're up next.
Good afternoon, council.
Hello.
How are you doing?
All right.
Just an update for the street lighting. I know last council meeting y'all had asked about it, and I spoke with Christy from Alabama Power one more time at the end of May, and she has said hopefully they would be on it by June 8th, which is this Thursday. I think a lot of that's going to be weather dependent.
Right.
Right. So hopefully if the weather doesn't work out for us this week, we should be seeing something next week with them starting to do the install. And as soon as that happens, I'll be taking pictures and letting people know. We'll get things out in the public on Facebook and stuff like that.
That means all the equipment that we were waiting to come in has come in.
Has come in. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
All right.
And so we're ready to dispatch the crews.
Okay.
So other than that, working on getting all the updated maps out to all the facilities with the annexations that we've done.
Right.
And I've been with the GIS department going to some training for the 2020 census that's coming up. We've already participated in the boundary annexation survey, which is the footprint of our city. All that's been submitted. I'll be going to training in 2 weeks for what's called LUCA, the local update of census addresses, and then a couple more programs that are going to be coming up with American Community Survey and population estimates program. And all that just sort of leads up to the 2020 census of it all.
That's one that we talked about.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. I think we may have received the same letter.
Yes, sir, we did.
Okay. Okay, good.
So that's all I have going on right now. So
All right.
if you have any questions?
And the census is quite interesting. When I was up at the Alabama League of Municipalities Conference back in May, we attended a briefing given by the Census Bureau. And it's fascinating the way they do their work. And what is surprising is that they don't really cut off inputting data and numbers until about 4 months before the actual end date. So that is encouraging for us because we tend to have almost, on a month's basis, new additions. And we're always changing our boundaries and we're always changing our maps. So this is good for us. Do you feel comfortable with everything we've done so far to prepare for the census?
Yes, sir. So far, everything's went smoothly. Some of it is very detailed. I've already been to one training session or workshop for the LUCA process, which is coming up, and they're having one local now.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard to find somebody who's been through the census, before.
Yeah.
And so it's a learning curve for everybody.
Right.
But we'll get everything taken care of.
Well, and I appreciate your effort. The census data, when it's finally published for this next census, be 2020, correct?
Yes, sir.
Those numbers drive industry. Those numbers drive new businesses and restaurants and people moving in. And when these major corporations see that our numbers are going up in terms of residences and businesses, that draws more. Because these large corporations operate on numbers and they look at census data. And if you're moving up, they want to come to your town. So it's very, very important. So I appreciate your help. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Jason, for bringing those items up. All right, again, any council, legal counsel, or staff comments? All right. The business that might come before the work session meeting. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Second.
You're all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. We'll take a 10-minute break. People can stretch, and then we'll start the regular session. Okay, the time is what?
4:38.
4:38. The time is 4:38 p.m. The meeting is now called to order. Roll call.
Mayor Baker,
Here.
Councilmember Watt,
Here.
Councilmember Smith,
Here.
Councilmember Webb,
Here.
Councilmember Platt.
Here.
Very good. The invocation will be given by Miss Bird. Come up. Where do you work? Miss Bird up here, please. Oh, I see. Okay. Okay.
Father, we thank you that you're our God, that you're King of kings and Lord of lords. We thank you, Father, for the freedoms that we enjoy in this country. We thank you for the assembling of it together. We ask you, Father, for wisdom in everything that is done in this meeting today. May we show your honor to all those around us. Father, we just need you to show the right direction that we're to go. And I thank you for you doing it in the name of Jesus. Amen.
Amen. Chief?
Join me in saying the pledge. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you both. Very good. Item 5 on the regular agenda is a consideration of the minutes from the regular council session of May 16, 2017. Give you a minute to look those over. Should be in your packet.
President, move we approve the minutes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The minutes from the regular council session of May 16, 2017 are approved. The next item is item 6, declaration of council vacancy. Before we get into this, this is a difficult thing for us to do as a council. We have never lost a council member due to a death And so we are charged with taking care of the government's business, but we also are charged with taking a moment to pause and remember someone who meant so much to the city and who meant, in all of our cases, so much as a good friend. Mr. Shirey has been with us from the beginning. He was in the first city council ever established here in the city of Semmes, and he worked tirelessly for all those years, plus his time with this council. This started back in last November. It was a pleasure to know Mr. Shirey. He was a gentleman in every way. He put others first in every way. And I think for those of us who were in attendance at the service on Saturday, we learned from reading his obituary and from the comments made by those in attendance how much he added to the lives of all those he touched. And he was a great man. And he was a good personal friend of mine, and I will miss him greatly. And I'd like to, if the rest of my fellow council members would like to say something before we consider this vacancy, please feel free to do so.
I just want to say he was a great neighbor and friend, and, yeah, I'm gonna miss him a lot.
I didn't know Jerry, but he was always meek, and, of course, I come aboard with him dealing with illness, he would just try to be positive every time. He just say, I'm gonna be better, I'm gonna beat this. And I went through that with my wife, and it kind of reminded me of situations that I've been through. But he's looking down from above, and we just thank God that people like that, like the mayor said, that offers back, and what little bit I've offered, I feel nothing compared to what he and his other, even the colleagues here, and I thank y'all for, your encouragement along the way too, as well as you encouraged him. Yes, I go through things in my life too. I lose him, I mate. Thank y'all.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wish to make a comment?
Yes, I think God had a man like Jerry here with us. And two, he did a tremendous job down at Bishop State, getting the veterans approved and the financial assistance for them to continue their education. And he was totally dedicated getting his job done.
Yeah.
Down there, we'll miss him, and they will too. Yes. Pray for the family.
Most people probably wouldn't know this, but Jerry Shirey, along with his wife Linda, were actually driving forces. That phrase just came over and over to me as we were thinking about him and at the memorial service. I know that's not what everybody would think because they didn't know, but he and his wife were driving forces in the formation of the city of Semmes. And this doesn't take away anything from anybody else, but they were just so diligent, worked so many hours, both of them. Linda, his wife of 50 years, over 50 years now, was right along with him, but he was the driving force that helped make this thing happen. So he is very, he didn't brag about it, he didn't make noise about it. Dr. Watt's comment was correct, he was meek. But those who saw his work close hand knew how diligent he was and how much he poured into the city. So I don't think we can say enough about what he meant to the formation of the city of Semmes.
I know our city clerk worked very, very hard on many projects with Mr. Shirey. did you wish to say anything at this time, or?
It's hard to believe that he's gone. I've known him for almost 6 years, and he's always been the nicest man. The last time I saw him, he was at his home Walmart, and he was smiling and talking to my son, and we talked a little bit about his health issues, and he was very positive about what was going on, and I hated to hear that he suffered so much before he passed, but I was glad to have attended his service, and it was beautiful, and he was a great person, so he'll definitely be missed.
Absolutely, absolutely. Very good. Any other comments, council, staff? Very good. Is there a motion for immediate consideration to consider declaring the vacancy for Jerry Shirey's council position?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Councilmember Watts?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Webb?
Yes.
Councilmember Platt?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes. Very good. Is there a motion to declare the vacancy?
Second.
Roll call vote?
Councilmember Watts?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Webb?
Yes.
Councilmember Platt?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes. The vacancy is declared. Moving on. Financial report, approval of checks for signatures. Has everyone had a chance to review the checks? Anyone not had a chance to review the checks? Anyone?
Move approve.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Very good. The approval of checks for signature is approved. Very good. Okay, resolutions A through E require immediate consideration. Is there a motion for immediate consideration for resolutions A through E?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote?
Councilmember Watts?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Webb?
Yes.
Councilmember Platt?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes. Very good. Resolution 9A, resolution to award a bid from John G. Walton for resurfacing project 2017-001-RE. Is there any additional discussion from the work session?
Move we approve.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote?
Councilmember Watts?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Webb?
Yes.
Councilmember Platt?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes. Very good. Resolution 9D, amending resolution 2017-20 authorizing the mayor to sign checks for standard reoccurring expenditures. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Councilmember Watts?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Webb?
Yes.
Councilmember Platt?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes. Moving on, item resolution 9C, resolution to authorize the expenditure of funds for the city clerk and assistant to become members of the International Institute of Municipal Clerks. Any further discussion?
Move we approve.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Councilmember Watts? Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Webb?
Yes.
Councilmember Platt?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes. Item 9D, authorizing expenditure of funds to purchase items for the 2017 National Night Out event. This, before we discuss this further, this was an adjustment in the budget of $1,500 greater than what was originally in the budget. Just want everybody to understand that. Very good. All right, is there any discussion on item 9D?
Move we approve that.
Second.
Roll call vote?
Councilmember Watts?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Webb?
Yes.
Councilmember Platt?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes. Item 9E, authorizing expenditure of funds to purchase lockers for Semmes Fire Station Number 1 And we discussed this earlier in the work session. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Mayor, we do need to add, not to exceed in the second paragraph, that an amount not to exceed $2,000 has been approved.
Okay. All right. So it'll be as amended, correct? Okay. Very good. Is there a motion to approve as amended the resolution authorizing expenditure of funds to purchase locker for Semmes Fire Station number 1?
So moved. Second.
Okay, roll call vote?
Councilmember Watts?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Yes.
Councilmember Webb?
Yes.
Councilmember Platt?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes. Very good. I believe that finishes the resolutions. Next, I know an item near and dear to everybody these days is the library. And what I wanted to do at this point, our attorney, Mr. Arledge, has been working on this issue with CVS and all the moving parts of the negotiation with the library and CVS for quite some time. So I've asked him to update us on the status of the library. So, sir, if you would please.
Yes, sir. There's two simultaneous things going on with the library. One is the issue of the use of the space in the library. I think it was before our last meeting, we had the meeting with Ms. Hudson and the library board, the library director, and myself, Mayor Baker, and Jason, and expressed that what our vision for the use of the space was, and gave that to him to consider. And the library board was supposed to meet the next week after that. Following that meeting, I contacted one of the library board members who I happen to know to clarify that our space requirements was not something, even though that's what we had for the foreseeable future, we didn't want to have anybody under the impression prior to their meeting that we were locked into this certain space forever. It's a large expense, and that's not something that it would be irresponsible to do so. And of course, everybody would need to reevaluate it down the road if that came up. But I wanted them to have that information before their meeting. The meeting at that time did not take place. I understand there wasn't a quorum for their meeting. I do not know specifically if there was another meeting, but I understand that there may have been. I just haven't seen anything official on it. I did receive a communication from the library board director, not the library board director, the library director, today that I think is positive as to what we had in mind, but I would like to clarify some of the language in there. But I think it's positive. And if so, great, we'll be ready to proceed with the other aspect of it, which is dealing with CVS. Several weeks ago, I think even before the library board meeting, I prepared a purchase contract, rather elaborate, covering everything that would need to be covered, and sent that to CVS, the CVS representative I had been dealing with. I didn't hear anything for 2-3 weeks on that. I followed up, and then I was told that of course, this is a large corporation. They own a lot of land, a lot of buildings. So they've got their own corporate process for if they want to sell something. So I was told that their process was to first enter into a letter of intent, which is a kind of a pre-contract, really, about what the basic terms of the deal will be. And then, once that's entered into, and that would have to come before the council. Once that's signed off on, then their team will do whatever regular contract is. And my job is to make sure that the stuff gets in these paperwork that we need. So I got the letter of intent form, I filled that out, sent it to the guy. They apparently subbed the work out to a third-party company. So I received a call from a fellow up in Long Island. Spoke to him, he was very nice, very productive, and he had to take a couple of things, which I don't think are going to be a big problem, back to up the chain. And I talked to him, I emailed him Monday as to the status, and he said he was waiting to hear back. He had tried to follow up with whoever it was on Friday. So basically, waiting to hear back on that. I don't think that's going to be a big holdup. So there's a lot of moving parts, and the pieces have to fall into place, but I think everybody's doing the best they can do. And I think it's probably going to work out.
That's good. That's good. I feel very positive about it at this point too, and we should just see what develops in the near future. Okay. Does council have any questions for our legal counsel? Mr. Webb, do you have any questions? Mr. Platt?
No, sir.
Mr. Whitehouse? Mr. Smith? No questions? Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you, sir, for commenting on that. All right. Before we get to public comments, are there any other comments or announcements, upcoming events? Ms. Denise, what's the next event? Anything?
The cat and dog days of summer, I'm wearing my earrings in celebration of that.
Okay. Cat and dog days of summer.
On June 17th, we
All
have
right.
about 20 vendors signed up, 3 food trucks.
Okay.
And hopefully we'll have lots of animals to be vetted and adopted.
Very good. And that's in our newsletter that
It
you've been
is.
taking all over town. And what's the date again?
June 17th.
And the place?
It's going to be at Semmes Municipal Park near the splash pad.
And the cost to the people is,
It's absolutely zero.
I'm telling you, can't beat it.
Whatever they want to buy from the food trucks
Yeah,
is up
that's
to
on them.
or the vendors, but
That's on them.
all the rest of it is
Yeah.
free.
Yes. Very good. Any other comments or announcements anybody wants to make before public comments? Okay. Do we have public comments?
Yes.
Okay.
Miss Diane Moore.
Ms. Moore,
All right,
how are you, ma'am?
I'm good.
We made you sit through a longer meeting than usual.
Yes, you did, but we stuck it out.
Thank you for sticking it out.
All right. We do have concerns. Some of our committee, sounds like we're a committee is here. There's 4, Carolyn had to leave, but there's 2 others here. And we've been concerned about the lack of communication. And we're concerned about the shared space. I can see where Director Scott Kenny could have gotten upset, especially after seeing the overlay, because it did go from like 700 square feet now up to 1,700 square feet. So I can see that there are fears and reservations there that need to be settled. I don't understand the overlay. I can see that it's a much larger space. And I haven't received all of them yet. I guess Jason has got those for me. But I don't see that there's I guess I was expecting to see more like a house plan, what was going to go in there. And I am I have to tell you, pretty upset that the art space looks like it would be gone. And that area over there where the desks are at, I'm in there enough to know that area is used a good bit. And that art space, we've had, I don't know how many art receptions in there that Mary Rodney and Lori Riley have coordinated. and brought people in. That's a cultural center to me. And we actually went to bat for that Smithsonian art space that is to the right as you go in and to the left as you go in. And art receptions have been held there every 2 or 3 months, and art displays rotated every 2 or 3 months. Much to the credit of Mary Rodney and Lori Riley and some Semmes Women's Club members and the Semmes Library Committee. So that's a concern. I thought I was going to see those before then. I thought I would be at that last meeting, but somehow there was a communication gap on that as well. You know, the community, the number one focus with the community is the library. It's not the shared space, it's the library. And I'm hoping that we can keep that as the number one priority. I received a letter from Commissioner Hudson also that Scott Kenny sent, and she wanted me to share that with her. It's not very long, so if y'all can bear with me. It's from Scott Kenny, who's, of course, the Mobile Public Library Director, and it says, Connie, as requested by Commissioner Hudson, she requested him to put something in writing, because I think you told me, Mayor, that that's what we would need next, is something in writing. As requested, I'm sending you a brief note to let you know what the Mobile Public Library Board discussed relating to the continued operation of the Semmes Library branch in fiscal year 18. After a lengthy discussion, the Library Board felt it was in the best interest to operate the Semmes Branch Library on behalf of the county based on the information they had at that time. The Library Board felt it was important to serve the regional population in the area of West Central Mobile County. The loss of approximately 1,700 square feet will not substantially impact the public. However, the library will lose the branch manager's office and 2 small public meeting rooms that will impact public service to some unknown degree. Again, the Library Board felt it is important to provide library services within the space that is currently proposed by the City of Semmes. Furthermore, should the City of Semmes require additional space, the Library Board would have to reevaluate the service contract with Mobile County. Sincerely, Scott Kenny. And that sounds like a fair letter to me, and extremely positive at this point, which I know that in the past that may not have been the case. But I think it's pretty plain that he's saying that they're ready to go, given that there's no further glitches on the shared space. Many of our citizens are under the impression that this project is well underway. In fact, they think the library building is actually purchased. And of course, we're just begging, we're asking, requesting that we be kind of included a little bit more too. As a library committee, I think we could help, really do, and especially with the Mobile Public Library. We're very familiar with what happened in the beginning, with the setup, everything about that library, and I feel that we could be help, especially with meetings with Director Kenny and the Mobile Public Library. I guess I have one question. Are there any plans at this point, since Director Kenny and the board seem to have agreed to this 1,700 square feet is what he's saying? Are there any plans for any additional space at this time and not down the road? That's a question.
None that I know of.
Okay. All right.
I'm just speaking for me now.
Well, anybody else know? That would be it at this time, right? Am I reading this letter right and correctly?
Well, I think one of the things we need to remember is that if, and that was why we asked our attorney to go back and clarify with the library board our concept of the building. And one of the things that the council pointed out in discussion is that if the city of Semmes owns the building, the city of Semmes owns the building. And if a future need were to develop, we would of course sit down with the library board and work it out like adults. But for me to predict the future, I'm not able to do that.
No, I know, you
Yeah,
told me
that
that
would be-
before. That's
That
like
would
the
be
future
like predicting
though.
the stock market and.
Right,
stuff.
well, and he says that,
Yeah.
that, you know, that y'all might have to, the council may have to reevaluate, but, and then they might have to
Sure.
reevaluate in the future.
Sure. And I think that was an important point to make, and that's why the attorney followed up with the library board to make sure they were clear on that. They apparently are clear on that
Yes.
from the wording of the library response.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess my next question with regard to his letter, what would be the next step? From, I guess, Chris or whoever, what is the next step?
Well, as our attorney said, negotiations with a major corporation are very involved. Our attorney sent a lengthy document and a proposed contract for purchase to CVS. Well, CVS has their own interpretation of what is and is not a valid contract.
So he's
We-
waiting
yes,
on that
yes, ma'am.
response.
So we can't really sit here in Semmes and try to imagine what the CVS lawyers are considering in their boardroom. When they finish with their final product, then they're gonna send it to our attorney, and then the council will review it. But right now, we don't have that. We just have discussions ongoing.
So there's nothing else to be done with the Mobile Public Library as such since
No, ma'am.
this letter's received?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's what I
Yes, ma'am. We're dealing with CVS in good faith, and our attorney is dealing with CVS in good faith, and everything else, I believe, is conjecture.
Well, let me clarify that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna contact
yeah.
some folks from the library board tomorrow
Yes, sir.
and clarify what I think that letter means,
Right.
because I think a couple of the sentences are sort of wishy-washy,
Yes.
quite frankly.
Yes.
And if it means what I think it means and want it to mean, then we're gonna be good to go.
Right.
But I wanna clarify that before I say nothing else needs to be done.
Right. And you understand what he's saying there. You
Well,
know,
I just
every-
didn't pick up on the wishy-washy.
Well, yeah, there's a couple of sentences that are, because they're rather vague. And it's important, if we're gonna work in an agreement, that the vagaries are clarified and our attorney is satisfied with the meat of it.
Okay, well, I know attorney language is different from my language, but he seems pretty clear to me.
Well, I think it's very positive, yeah.
I do, and I
Yeah.
think he's saying, yes, we're ready to go, and,
Yeah.
you know, if it turns out to be something where we can't live with in the
Yeah.
future, then we will reevaluate in the future.
Sure.
That's the way I'm doing.
Sure.
All right, gentlemen.
Thank you,
I guess
ma'am.
that's it.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. And I appreciate everybody's helping us with that and considering the library. We know it's important to everyone, but as you know, there are steps to be followed, and especially when you're dealing with a corporation, the magnitude of CBS, it's not something that's done in a moment. Any other public comments?
Yes, sir. We have Ms. Kim Leosis.
Okay. Hello.
Hello. I'd like to talk a little bit more about the library.
Yes,
or
ma'am.
Offer some comments.
Sure. I saw you at the commission.
At the commission meeting,
At
yep.
the, yeah.
I'll show up in the craziest places. I'd like to reiterate what Diane said on behalf of our committee and sort of underline that there just hasn't been enough communication. I want to be wishy-washy to use, the terms. There hasn't been enough communication from our perspective about the space usage, and I want to also reiterate what Diane just said, is that we can help this a positive transition. And I do hear you, and I understand, the attorney's role in terms of his legal issues, or whatever, and being clear about the fact that the city is gonna own the building. I don't have a qualm with that. But I wanna be clear that, you know, in the future, the public isn't gonna be supportive of the city having, under different pretenses, and I'm talking about in future tense, saying, oh, we want to help save the library, when in fact what we were doing was purchasing, you know, city offices. And so I don't want to be wishy-washy with you all politically. I'm saying it's not going to be wise if, you know, in the future we expand the footprint of the city offices into and impinge, you know, the library. And so that's, I think, an important consideration for you all to be clear on. That's one thing. The other thing is that, and this is a side note, doesn't have to be commented on. I don't expect a comment. This is just my opinion. I don't really understand, and listening to your report from your attorney, why this many weeks later he didn't understand what CVS's process was and what their expectations were in terms of the intent to purchase the building. So what you did was, I assume, paid him to draft a very long document, which they didn't need. They had their own definition of what they needed. And, you know, I'm just speaking critically, you know, and I hope it's all right to do that and I'm not a citizen of Semmes, I want to say that. I'm just happen to be here today, and I don't, on behalf of the citizens of Semmes, I don't think it's appropriate for him, not as your representative, for him not to have understood what the process was from CVS's perspective. And that's about all I got to say.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'd like to respond.
Okay.
I guess I might as well just go ahead and paint a big target on my back, and maybe I wasn't brave enough to say this while Diane Moore was up there, but there's one thing that really needs to be said. Some citizens have made it quite clear that they want us to purchase the library at any cost. And I really understand that. And if it was my decision alone, I would probably say, yeah, let's kind of sway that way.
Let me ask you.
Yeah.
Purchase the library?
Or the property, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, by the property. But you also have to understand that this is not our money. It is everybody's money. Every citizen has put this in. And even though your group is very vocal right now, the rest of them are going to attack us later. I know it's going to happen. It's a lot of money, a lot of money. And all I can say is we're just doing the best that we can.
We know that.
Yeah, we cannot just go and do this because a group wants it done. We just can't do it.
All right. Can I address that back to
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay. What I feel so strongly about is that, you know, we've gone to a lot of meetings. Y'all have gone too. And when we went there to Mobile County meetings, commission meetings and so forth, this is what we went for.
Mm-hmm.
When we got organized at the very beginning, when we found out what a predicament we were in with this library, what did the people rally around? The library, not shared space, not any of that rigmarole. They just want their library. And that still is that's still our primary focus. Now, we may not be saying it right. I appreciate all of you gentlemen, the time and effort that you put in to this city. But still, on this issue, our primary concern, yes, is the library. And I think that's what the citizens, when you justify the purchase of that library, that would be enough. Because they don't want to lose their library. They proved that with CVS. They proved it already.
Yeah, I may have my figures way off base, but if they just want a library, I think that we could pull out of that building and not purchase it and tell the Mobile Public Library, we want a
Yeah.
library.
Well, that's not our library. That
It will be
building
a
is-
library.
It would be a library.
Yeah.
But it's not the library that we invested in. Buddy Martin, the bishops, how many people that invested in that
Well,
library?
one of the first
And-
things that came to light was y'all did not know the whole story
No,
at
we
that
didn't.
time either.
No, we didn't.
And if you didn't know, we certainly didn't know.
But we've shared that with you.
Yeah.
And so now we're asking, yes, just keep us in what we can
Well,
help. We
the
can
the
help.
city council and the attorney may want to look at the use of the space, but one of the things that went into the decision to proceed was that we could justify the expense by vacating some other expenses.
Yes, and that.
I mean, we're talking about what, 15% of our funds, or, I mean, that's a lot of money.
Yes, and we all knew that, and we all were adjusted to that and everything. It's just when the figures went up and up, I think that the director got so upset about. And so, but we are where we are. He has said now that they're good to go, is the way I'm reading that, wishy-washy or not. But I think it's a positive statement that Commissioner Hudson sent today. He's ready to go, so hopefully we all.
Well, I have to agree with the city council on, legal counsel, that those words may not really be what they appear to be. You know, attorneys are different, they talk different.
Yeah, well, I'm just a local girl, but it
Yeah.
sounds to me like he's ready to go.
Well, I'm just hoping that everybody understands that it's been a lot of work.
I know that.
And as far as Mr. Aldridge part in there, you know, he didn't know the procedure either. And I bet you no other attorney in town did either.
Yeah, I have no idea.
But
on that.
we can't give away the whole works for one.
I understand the point you're making. I just keep going back to, that the community is, yes, that they came together again. Like 10 years ago, the community came together again when it was so critical to come together to send a message to CVS, and that was done.
Well, I'm still confident that it's gonna work out.
Me too.
I'm
I'm very
other,
positive.
public
about
comment?
it. Can I ask oh.
Okay.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Wait a minute.
Oh, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
I'm not written down in there. I just, all of that.
If you have a
caused me-
comment to
I
make,
have a question.
Let's hear from you.
It's the Mobile County Public Library System. Do any of the cities that a library is located in, do the cities own those buildings?
My understanding is that the city of Mobile owns the library on, is it Cottage Hill?
I think so.
The regional? I
Green
believe
Law.
Yeah, I believe the city of Mobile owns the one on the regional library, the one designated the regional. There may be a couple of other cities that own their building. Some do, some don't. I don't really have the actual breakout.
I just, all this, the shared space controversy.
Yeah.
I just, if the city is purchasing the library, I just wondered if any other cities own.
Not to the extent that, except for the city of Mobile, there is no other city in Mobile County I'm aware of that has attempted to purchase a building of this magnitude or cost. I don't believe there's anything even close to that.
And so how are those other libraries funded?
Well, part of it is they've been cities for 100 years, 150 years.
200 years.
And they have a history of starting something out on the ground floor.
Okay.
Back when libraries were much simpler than they are today, when they didn't include computers and everything else that's in the library today. And basically all you needed to have a library years ago was a building and maybe power and water. That was it. It was a very simple concept. Well, as you know now, it's become far more complicated. And when you start talking library, my goodness, the connectivity you need, you've got wireless, you've got everything in there. So, and I know that other cities, for example, I believe the city of Chickasaw contributes $40,000 a year out of their budget to operate their library in the city of Chickasaw. It's a Mobile County branch. All the cities basically have different formulas. They all pay different amounts. Saraland pays a healthy amount. But then again, Saraland has 6 times the annual operating budget of the city of Semmes. So it's a hodgepodge of how libraries are managed and run and funded and everything else. I've learned a lot about libraries. Yeah.
We visited some libraries.
So we visited some libraries. What?
Like over in Baldwin County where in fact they did build the whole library.
Yes, Spanish Fort has a system. They built a building where City Hall is in one end with Public Works and their court, their magistrate court. They have an all-purpose room in the middle. At the other end of the building is a library. Behind the library is the senior citizen operation. It's kind of an all-in-one operation. We asked the librarian, how is it getting along with the city of Spanish Fort? She said, it's no problem. We have our thing, they do their thing. I asked the city clerk and the staff over at Spanish Fort, how is it to work with the library? No problem. Yeah, it's all a matter, yeah.
I just wondered if any of the other cities in Mobile County had gifted a library to their town, so.
Not to the extent that this would be, not to my knowledge, with the exception of Mobile. And as you know, Mobile is a very big, powerful, wealthy city.
Thank you.
Okay, all right.
I renew my request to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.